Before time existed, before stars burned in the darkness, before the first human ever took a breath, there was only God. No universe, no galaxies, no light, no sound, only the absolute existence of the Creator. And yet, one question has echoed through every civilization, every generation, and every human mind that has ever wondered about existence. Why did God create the universe at all? Why is there something instead of nothing? Is the universe just a random event, or is there a deeper purpose behind everything we see? For thousands of years, prophets, philosophers, and thinkers have tried to answer this question. Across different lands and different eras, the same mystery continued to return. Why does anything exist? According to the Abrahamic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the answer begins with a powerful idea. Creation is not an accident. It is not random. It is intentional. The universe, with all its complexity, order, and beauty, is the result of a deliberate act of creation. But this leads to a deeper and more difficult question. If God is all-powerful and needs nothing, then why create anything at all? Why create a universe filled with galaxies, stars, planets, and eventually, human beings? In the Bible, in the book of Genesis, the story of creation unfolds in a structured and meaningful way. God creates the heavens and the earth in 6 days. Light is separated from darkness, the sky is formed, land emerges from the waters, plants grow, animals appear, and finally human beings are created in the image of God. And after creation, everything is described as good. In the Quran, creation is also described in stages, often referred to as 6 periods. But there is a powerful emphasis that stands out. The universe is not just created. It is a sign pointing back to its creator. Every star in the sky, every law of physics, every detail of existence carries meaning. This raises another important question. Is the universe simply physical, or is it meant to be understood? In Islamic theology, the purpose of human existence is clearly defined. Humans were created to worship God, but this idea is often misunderstood. Worship is not limited to rituals or prayer. It is not only about specific acts performed at certain times. Worship is much broader. It includes awareness, reflection, gratitude, and the way a person chooses to live their life. Every decision becomes meaningful. Every action becomes part of something greater. Life itself becomes a test of choices. A test between good and evil, truth and denial, sincerity and arrogance. But this leads to another question. Was humanity the first creation? Or did something exist before us? Before the first human ever walked the earth, there were already beings created by God. According to Islamic teachings, there were 2 major creations before humanity: the angels and the jinn. The angels were created from light. They do not disobey God. They do not have free will in the same way humans do. They carry out commands perfectly, without hesitation. The jinn, however, are different. They were created from smokeless fire. And unlike angels, they have free will. They can choose. They can obey or they can disobey. Among the jinn was one being who stood out above the rest. His name was Iblis. Before becoming known as Satan, Iblis was not evil. In fact, he was among the most devoted. He worshipped God with intensity and dedication. But something changed. Something happened that would alter the course of history forever. A moment of pride, a refusal, a decision that would lead to his fall. And that moment would directly impact the story of humanity. But before we reach that point, another perspective must be explored. What does science say about the beginning of the universe? Modern science suggests that the universe began with what is known as the Big Bang. A single moment in which space, time, and matter all came into existence and began expanding. From that moment, everything developed. Galaxies formed, stars ignited, and planets took shape. The universe, as we know it, emerged from a single origin. Interestingly, some religious descriptions speak of the heavens and the earth as once being joined together before being separated. For many believers, this is seen as a point of reflection. Not necessarily a scientific explanation, but a reminder that the search for understanding has always existed. Both science and religion, in their own ways, attempt to answer the same fundamental question: how did everything begin? And perhaps even more importantly, why? What if the universe had no purpose? What if everything we see, everything we experience, is simply the result of random events with no meaning behind them? If that were true, then meaning itself would disappear. There would be no ultimate reason for existence, no higher purpose, no final accountability. But the Abrahamic religions reject this idea completely. They insist that the universe is not random. It is meaningful. It is intentional. The universe is not just made of matter and energy. It is a message. Every part of existence points towards something greater. Every moment carries weight. Every human life has purpose. But the story does not end here. Because before humanity was created, before the first human ever opened their eyes, there was already a world unseen, a world of beings made of light, and another made of fire. And among them was one who would refuse to obey, one who would challenge the very command of God. And that is where the real story begins. In the next episode, we explore the first intelligent creations in history, the angels and the jinn, and the being who would become known as the enemy of mankind.